Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the GSMC Basketball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mara Fatemi. We got a packed show lined up for you guys today. We had an absolute packed lined up slate last night from 6 p.m. all the way up to 10 p.m. Well, 6 p.m. all the way to more like midnight because the final game started at 10 p.m. It was a packed slate, 4 games. We had 2 series get closed out last night. 2 teams clinching their spots in the second round of the NBA playoffs. And then we had, of course, the Los Angeles Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. Of course, their series is tied 2-2. They have a game 6 lined up, an elimination game for the Los Angeles Clippers as the Nuggets win that one in Denver. And then we had the Detroit Pistons go into New York last night and take care of business in New York, stun that Madison Square Garden crowd. Nobody was expecting it. The Detroit Pistons got it done. And we're gonna get into a little bit about that and a little bit of a slump game from Jalen Brunson. I expect that to be turned right around for Game 6. Um, we're also gonna discuss. We're gonna preview 2 games tonight, both the Warriors Rockets series. Of course, that series, the Warriors trying to close out that one in Houston tonight. Houston trying to fight for their lives, same as Detroit was doing. But Detroit wasn't on the road. This is Houston at home. They have an opportunity on their home floor to force a Game 6 back in Golden State. But the major story of the day that I'm very, very interested in is what is going to happen to this Los Angeles Lakers team as they go into Minnesota tonight looking to force a Game 6. And is this possibly LeBron James' final game in the NBA? He's hinted at it over the last couple seasons that he's looking to retire, that the wheels are starting to fall off, that he just doesn't have the energy, he's 40 years old. At the end of the day, he is 40 years old. So could this be LeBron James' final game in Los Angeles? We'll get into everything about that actually right off the top of the show. But before I move any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so I see it. It also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. But getting right into it here, we have the Lakers back in LA for a massive Game 5 between them and the Minnesota Timberwolves. A series that we didn't expect to really transpire the way it has. A 3-1 lead for the Timberwolves, taking one in LA, sweeping the Lakers in Minnesota. And now here we are. The Lakers having a chance in Game 4 at the end of Game 4. The Lakers pretty much leading 95% of that game, but from the play of Naz Reid to the shooting of Julius Randle to the 43 points, to the 43-point bomb that Anthony Edwards set off in that arena, it was pandemonium in Minnesota, and it was an unbelievable game, top to bottom, start to finish. Timberwolves deserved that game. They won it fair and square, but here we are now. We are at a Game 5 in LA. And there are legitimate questions to be asked. Is this LeBron James' final game in Los Angeles? If you're asking me personally, he has hinted at it over the last couple seasons, absolutely. He said it 2 years ago or so. I believe he said it earlier this year, that commenting on something Steph Curry said. Steph Curry saying that he's just getting old, and LeBron saying, "Yeah, we're just getting old. Like the time we're in the back halves of our career. We're not going to play forever." And LeBron in an even earlier press conference saying, I don't want to play until the wheels fall off." So he wants to go out when he wants to go out. He's going to go out on his terms whenever he wants. That is not for we could be tonight. It could be next season if he wants to have a sort of not homecoming, retirement tour, if you want to call it a retirement tour. Just going around the cities, enjoying it. Everybody enjoying his game one last time before he hangs up the jersey. But yeah, tonight could really be it. If LeBron James wants, he could go out, and I don't think this game affects his legacy. He's done in the last 2 games. He's scored 38 points. at the end of the day, it comes down to the team around him, and we've had concerns even since the Los Angeles Lakers traded for Luka Doncic. We know they're very top heavy, but we had concerns right out of the get-go that this team had defensive issues. They were a smaller team, they were a shallower team, they were very top heavy, and they didn't have a good defensive presence, especially after losing Anthony Davis, trading him for a guard. You didn't really get a center to replace Anthony Davis. You just plugged in a Jackson Hayes, plugged in a Rui Hachimura Rui stayed in the spot, plugged those two guys in and hope for the best. Thing is, when things started to turn was there was a 7-week stretch where the Los Angeles Lakers had the #1 defensive rating across the NBA. And that's when we sat there and we're like, what's going on here? We didn't really expect this by any means. Jackson Hayes has played phenomenal down the stretch as a center, as a big man, a good rebounder. He's stepped up since Anthony Davis left. But the one thing that has stayed consistent really throughout this whole process, has been their bench. Their defense has picked it up from times, like I just mentioned. Their rebounding is somewhat, it's okay. It's not great. The problem is when you're going up against you can't really bully the guys like Rudy Gobert, like Julius Randle, even a Jaden McDaniels, even an Anthony Edwards, who's a great two-way player. Jaden McDaniels honestly can guard the 1 through 3, if not maybe 4 spots. So when you have a guy that can guard 3 or 4 positions and defend well, that's the type of guy that could take a Luka Doncic out of the game, take a LeBron James out of the game, and force somebody else to beat you. And that is what that's what they've been trying to do. Austin Reeves has not had a great series. That's plain and simple. He hasn't had a bad one, but averaging about 18 points a game in the series, hasn't really scored more than 20 points in any of the games. I think it's 17, 18, 16, 19, I think were the player points for Austin Reeves. It has not been pretty for Austin Reeves. We know what he can be. We saw him turn into a possible legit third option for this Lakers team in the regular season. But we also know this Lakers team. We also know the regular season is not like the playoffs. The way transition basketball is cut off in the playoffs, the way the game slows down and defenses play tough, physical basketball on you, that is the difference. That is the difference between the regular season and the playoffs. And a lot of these young players for the Lakers, outside of the Luka, LeBron, but for the Rui Hachimuras, the Austin Reeves. I mean, you still have Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent, but you don't have reliable players. You have decent role players, but you need especially against the Minnesota Timberwolves team, you need better role players. And that's honestly where I want to go with this. When you have, let's just go down, let's compare role players for a second. We know they have LeBron, we know they have Luka, we know they have Austin Reeves. Okay, that's a big 3. Past there, you got Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and Dorian Finney-Smith. And then if you want to add him, Jordan Goodwin. That's 5. Let's switch gears to the other side. You got Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. Sorry, I blanked. That's their big 2 there. Then you got a Rudy Gobert in the paint, who's an unbelievable center, unbelievable defender, defensive player of the year candidate almost every year. You have Jaden McDaniels. And then from there, you have Naz Reid, who's a 6th man of the year. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who is an unbelievable role player in New Orleans and has had multiple 20-point games here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. You have Mike Conley, who's a seasoned veteran. Why do I feel like I'm missing someone? I guess I'm not. Am I missing someone? I guess not. Oh, but yeah, just that's the state. That is what you're going up against. I just named 8 guys, 8 legit guys that can go up against that can score 10+ points, and then I named 5, which maybe 4 could score more than 10+ points. Of course, we know the big 3, but outside of that, for the bench, for Rui Hachimura, for in general. And Jackson Hayes is getting outplayed in this series. And what are you going to do? You can't blame him. You have Jackson Hayes trying to defend Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is going to eat him up for lunch any day of the week. The problem is Rudy Gobert is just bigger. He's a bigger physical specimen, is taller than him as well. So he towers over him. He can out-physical him. He can out-strength him. Jackson Hayes, especially in the game, like in this type of game in the playoffs, what do you think Jackson Hayes can do? He's struggling to deal with that. He's struggling to deal with it, period. And if you try and switch him with Julius Randle will just bully ball him into the paint as well. He might be shorter, but Jackson Hayes does not have the strength to withstand what Julius Randle would put him through. So, overall, that just puts the series in perspective right now. Do I want to pick the Lakers in Game 5? Anthony Edwards is going to show up to LA looking to close the deal on this one. He's probably going to go off for 35 points. He wants nothing to do with the Lakers getting any momentum, any confidence going back to Minnesota. He wants to end the series now, and we got to have a separate discussion because Anthony Edwards is no longer just a star in this league, and he might deserve a new title of legend killer as if he takes out LeBron and Luka Doncic. That is a discussion for another day. After this series, most likely, if the Timberwolves finish it out. But yeah, he's coming out tonight to put on a show, to put the final nail in the coffin of this Lakers story. It's plain and simple. And LeBron and Luka have to be ready to answer that call. If LeBron and Luka can go off for, say, Luka goes off for 38 and LeBron goes for 28, if they can get a 20-point production out of Austin Reeves, they should be in a decent spot to have a chance in this game. I know that's a big three, but outside of that, you can get 10, 15 points from Rui. You can get 5 to 10 points from Jackson Hayes. If you can get 5 to 10 points each from Gabe Vincent and Dorian Finney-Smith, I think you're in a good place. You can live with that. But if the Timberwolves come out and shoot like they did in Game 1 and shoot 50% from 3, especially with the extra break that they've gotten, extra time off, what do we say? Is this LeBron's final game? I don't know. And there's really been no indication from LeBron, but he's mentioned it a couple times during the regular season that his time is coming to a close soon, but he hasn't said it in a while. He has not said it in probably more than 2 or 3 months now. So, yeah, we just have to wait and see. Is this LeBron's final game? I don't know. But if it is, we got to sit. We have to watch. I'm going to watch this game because if it is, just got to watch the final dance. It's going to be like watching Kobe Bryant in his final game with the Lakers before he retired. But LeBron has no ceremony. We have no idea. So we'll see how this all transpires. But I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Detroit Pistons going into New York last night, taking a massive Game 5, a young Pistons squad that shocked Madison Square Garden. And we're going to discuss if they have an opportunity to possibly win this series or if they have an opportunity to force a Game 7 possibly on Friday night for Game 6. I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at that series. Don't go anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. Some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. losing my mind? Is everybody in the world blind?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mary Fatemi. Getting into our next segment here, we're going to take a look at the Detroit Pistons knocking off the New York Knicks back at home in Madison Square Garden in a massive Game 5 after dropping 2 straight in Detroit. The Pistons, obviously a young, not really inexperienced, I wouldn't say inexperienced, but a team that's incredibly young and gaining confidence and experience throughout the series. This was a big step for them. A team going into Madison Square Garden in an elimination game in a hostile environment. That Madison Square Garden was rocking last night, taking momentum early, imposing their will with Jalen Duren. I said Jalen Duren was going to have a big comeback game after the Game 4 that he had, and I was right, honestly. It was a great performance from Jalen Duren. I'm happy to see that he is back in the win column, got his team back in the win column, and he was in big presence on the offensive glass in this one. But yeah, this is about the Pistons absolutely taking down the New York Knicks, and do they have a chance to force a Game 7 in this series? That is the question that we'll be answering in this segment. But before I move any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so I see it, and it also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. And I've said it before, you guys are a big part of what we do here at the GSMC Sports Network. Whether it's good, let us know what we're doing well, let us know what we can improve upon. In general, your input, let us know how we can build a better show. And let us know if you guys want to hear more topics. Say there's a topic that you're interested in, let us know so we can talk more about it during our shows in general. So, yeah, we appreciate you guys as always as well. But we got to get back into the basketball content because there is an unlimited flow of it and we have limited time here on our show. The New York Knicks falling to the Detroit Pistons 106-103 in what was honestly arguably game of the night. We know we'll talk a little bit about that Bucks Pacers game later in the show. But in terms of what we expected in terms of competitiveness, in terms of grit and grind between both of these teams, this game was it. This game was it from top to bottom. Cade Cunningham leading the way for the Detroit Pistons with 24 points and 8 rebounds, 8 assists. A decent performance. He didn't have his best game last night. 6 of 17 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3-point range. Kind of became more of a facilitator, really. We saw his assist numbers come up, his rebounding as well. As always, we know he's a great two-way player. Utilizes his height and his reach and his athleticism very well. Asher Thompson as well, finishing with 22 points. Tobias Harris with 17 points. Big game out of Tobias Harris. We saw he had a little bit of an injury scare. I think he took an elbow from Jalen Duren in the first quarter. But it did not faze him at all. Finishing with 17 points, 8 rebounds. Just overall, great overall performance from Tobias Harris. And he continues to show up and show out in this series for the Detroit Pistons. This is his 3rd game now with over 15 points. And absolutely well-deserved from Tobias Harris. Great performances down the stretch. I think 1 game in New York in the first 2 games. 1 game in Detroit between game 3 and 4. And now back in New York with another big game. But yeah, going back to my guy Jalen Duren, the guy that I said was going to be the X factor of this one. We know Asher Thompson had a good 22-point game. We'll get into that as well. But Jalen Duren needed to have a great game. He needed it. After Karl-Anthony Towns pretty much bullied him in Detroit in both game 3s and game 4, specifically in game 4. I believe Jalen Duren only had 6.6 rebounds or 6.8 rebounds, something like that. We know Jalen Duren, who Jalen Duren is. We know what to expect from him. We know he can play better. And he did. finishing with 9 points, 14 rebounds. He was a big pivotal reason why they were so effective on the offensive glass, giving their team some more offensive rebound opportunities, finishing with 7 offensive rebounds, 7 defensive rebounds. That is a big stat right there. When you have, especially NBA playoffs, when you have good rebounding, you have more opportunities to score buckets. You have more opportunities to get to the free throw line. You have more opportunities in general to grow momentum. It's plain and simple. More opportunities to get your offensive guys going. Get the 3-point shot rolling from any of them. That is the name of the game in the NBA. And it's a pivotal part, especially in the playoffs, offensive boards, rebounding in general. And this game deserves Jalen Duren, even though his name is kind of in the bottom tier of the stat sheet just because of points, that 14 rebounds, those six assists from a big man, those are Jokic-esque, Zubac-esque. I'm trying to think of another center. Anthony Davis, if you want to throw him in that conversation. For a big man, there are big men that can score double doubles. There are like say Andre Drummond from back in the day. He was able to get a double-double in his sleep. Blake Griffin, he could get a double-double in his sleep. But you don't see guys having 4, 5, 6 plus assists as a center. A guy that's supposed to be in the interior on the block, just getting rebounds, being tough, bullying anybody that gets to the lane, dominating the lane, being an anchor for the defense. You don't see them facilitating. You don't see them spreading the ball. You don't see them facilitating an offense. That is rare, and that is what we're seeing more and more out of centers in the league, and that's going to be something that we talk about most likely in the future, how the game is changing in that state. But yeah, this is about Jalen Duren. This is about his play, along with Cade Cunningham, of course. Asher Thompson, 8 of 10 from the field. He had a big game in a game that Cade Cunningham did not shoot very well. Asher Thompson picked up that load and did very well in doing so. Malik Beasley as well, 4 of 11 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3-point range, only 10 points in this one. Continues to prove why Asher Thompson's 22 points were so pivotal in this one down the stretch. But yeah, this game was pretty much, it wasn't decided really quick. The New York Knicks hung around, tried their best to stick around in this game, keep their lead within striking distance, and they did come back a little bit in that fourth quarter. But it was the shot making of the Pistons down the stretch. It was Jalen Duren, it was Cade Cunningham, it was Dennis Schroeder with a clutch 3-pointer, and it was Tobias Harris with a clutch 3-pointer in the fourth quarter. These are the unsung heroes of this Pistons squad, and I don't know. Now they have an opportunity going back to Detroit to even up this series at 3 games apiece, to force a Game 7, a winner-go-home game. And their experience is going to be tested. Are they going to lose 3 straight home games in a series? Are they going to... I think they're tied right now for most playoff losses at home in a row. I think they haven't won a playoff game since 2008. I believe it's 8 or 9 games in a row they've lost at home in the playoffs. Are they going to, and they're tied, I believe, with somebody. Are they going to continue to grow that streak is the question. Are they going to wilt in the spotlight? Is Cade Cunningham going to grow in the spotlight? Is he going to grow into that superstar caliber player that we know he's scratching the surface of right now? I think it comes down, Jalen Duren needs another game the way he did. I think Jalen Duren's play in general is an X factor in this one. If he can gain offensive rebounds, if he can out-rebound Karl-Anthony Towns, it gives the Pistons a chance. Because Karl-Anthony Towns not getting going, especially on the rebounding side of the ball, because we know his scoring is one thing, he can get his scoring going. But when he gets his rebounding going, and he acts like a taller, bigger version of a Julius Randle, that's when the Knicks are at their scariest. That's when they're at their best. That's when they're at their biggest. So, we'll see how this all transpires. We're in a tough spot. I wish I had a better idea of how this goes, but we're in a tough spot here. We know I don't know who to pick in this one. Karl-Anthony Towns in this game also finishing with 17 points, 11 rebounds. Only one of those being offensive rebounds. So Jalen Duren outplaying Karl-Anthony Towns on the glass, something that we haven't really seen in this series very much of. But yeah, if we want to talk about the Knicks side of things for a little bit, just quickly, Karl-Anthony Towns getting into foul trouble pretty quickly in this one. Five fouls in the first, or not five, finishing with 5 fouls. Only shooting 5 of 14, 2 for 4 from 3-point range. We saw him score that deep 3-point shot to tie the game in the fourth quarter. Of course, Karl-Anthony Towns, we know his shooting is one thing. His shooting is on pace. He's a 3-point scoring champion in the All-Star game. He's one of the best. He's probably arguably the best 3-point shooting big man in the league right now. So major props to him. We know what he brings to the table. But I think this game, if we want to discuss about this really quickly, I kind of want to discuss this I'll discuss this further when we preview Game 6. But I think Jalen Brunson has something to say. We need to say Jalen Brunson's name when we're talking about this game. 4 of 16 from the field, an elimination game. 1 for 4 from 3-point range. 7 of 10 from free throws. We know he did well. We got a majority of his points from the free throw line, only finishing with 16 points. That's fine. But 16 points, he was more of a facilitator with 7 assists. But if the Knicks want to win this series, we know Jalen Brunson is dealing with an injury, so that could have something to do with it. We know he's dealing. We saw him with a knee injury at the end of Game 4. Is he still dealing with it? Is it still nagging? Did he get a little bit of an adrenaline shot to come back in that fourth quarter in Game 4 to ultimately win that game for the Knicks? And is that injury still lingering with Jalen Brunson? That is the question. That is a question, and it's a well-deserved question. But we know who Jalen Brunson is. When he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the league. He's been a top 5 individual playoff performer, top 4 probably playoff performer so far this year, in this year's playoffs. But they need Jalen Brunson at his best. They need him at his biggest. They need him at his best, because they cannot rely on the Karl-Anthony Towns. They can't rely on Mikal Bridges or Josh Hart's or whoever else you want to throw, OG Anunoby. You cannot rely on role players to carry your team in the playoffs, especially Game 6, especially Game 7. Game 7 is the time for stars. Game 6, the Detroit Pistons are looking to force a Game 7 back in New York. They've won 2 games in New York now. They have the confidence to go into your building and win that game. Are you going to let it happen? That is the question. That is the question we're all waiting to hear. Because if the there's 2 sides of this. Are the Detroit Pistons going to lose all 3 games at home? Is that going to be the reason why they lose this series? Or are they going to force a Game 7? Is Jalen Brunson going to have more shooting issues, more due to his injury or whatnot, in Game 6? Is it going to be another pivotal reason why they lose possibly Game 6? And then in Game 7, you throw it's a coin toss. It always is. It always is. And it comes down to the stars. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we preview Game 6. But this series now is far from over. And Game 5 told us a lot about this Detroit Pistons squad. We need to see what Jalen Brunson is about in Game 6. And we need to see it quick, fast, and in a hurry. If the Knicks fall behind early, I don't like their chances. I'll be serious. I'll be pure honest, because I think Little Caesars Arena is going to be rocking, absolutely rocking on Friday night. I believe they play on Friday night, or is it Saturday night? I can tell you that right now. I apologize. I thought it was Friday night. Regardless, I'm going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Los Angeles Clippers and Denver Nuggets game. That is one of the best playoff series right now, if not the best. A 2-2 series, now 3-2 going back to LA. Denver winning a pivotal game. I said it was going to be a must-win game on my show yesterday. Denver came out with that attitude. Backed by the shooting of Russell Westbrook, the shooting of Jamal Murray, the shooting of Michael Porter Jr., of Jokic. Those are 4 guys right there that had pivotal games that really propelled this Nuggets team to the win, and dropping 130 points. That's what you expect. A well-balanced, highly efficient offense. I'll have a lot to say about that. Also, Game 6 of the Pistons and Knicks series will be on Saturday, so I will preview it here on Friday. That's when we'll talk more about this series. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit of an update on Jalen Brunson's injury before then as well. But, yeah, I'll take a short break, and I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be LA Clippers, Denver Nuggets basketball. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mary Fatemi. Getting into our next segment here, we're going to talk a little bit about the Denver Nuggets taking out the Los Angeles Clippers last night. That game being in Denver, one of the biggest, probably easily the biggest playoff game so far this year, in this year's playoffs, outside of possibly this one tonight between the Lakers and the Timberwolves. But yeah, the Denver Nuggets taking the Clippers out 131-115, and honestly, what was probably the best performance we've seen from this Nuggets team in the playoffs in, do I want to say years? No, but easily these playoffs. Watching this game, right off the bat, this Denver Nuggets team that showed up in Denver last night, that was not the team from last year. That was not the team of this year. That was not the team that fired Mike Malone immediately, that won a few games, that lost game 2, lost game 3 in decisive fashion. This looked like the Nuggets squad that can beat anybody. Jamal Murray finished with 43 points, his best performance of the playoffs so far this year by far. Arguably one of the best playoff performances of the playoffs so far, going 17 of 26, 65% from the field, 8 of 14 from three-point range. They relied on his hot hand a lot in this game, especially when the Clippers started climbing back into this one. It was the shooting of Jamal Murray that gave the Nuggets more confidence and gave them more ease going as they moved forward through this game. Also, the shooting of Russell Westbrook is something that we must talk about if we're going to talk about this game. Russell Westbrook finishing with 21 points. Just overall, we know Russell Westbrook has had a little bit of a tough season so far. We remember back in the day with Minnesota, a few weeks, about a month ago now. Wow, that was a month ago. With Russell Westbrook first missing a game-winning layup in double overtime, and then going back on the defensive end and fouling the guy this was against the Minnesota Timberwolves, fouling, I believe it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the corner, and ultimately losing that game. Tonight, or last night, I should say, he cleaned up his act. Plain and simple. Shot 8 of 15, shot 3 of 6 from three-point range, 21 points for Russell Westbrook. I believe he shot 3 threes in a row. He had 16 points in the first half. Russell Westbrook had a game last night, and I'm so happy to see him back in the successful category, back with his name and with good news, with his name when his name is in the news, back in the good news column, just overall back. I'm happy to see Russell Westbrook back, somebody that deserves, possibly is still competing for a championship with this Nuggets squad. But yeah, major props to Russell Westbrook in his play last night, because if it wasn't for his offense, I don't think the Nuggets come out and win this one the way they did. But as much as I say the scoring of this one was so important, I've said it all series long, and it proved itself once again. The rebounding of the Denver Nuggets is too much for this Clippers team to handle. They can box out Aaron Gordon sometimes. They can box out Michael Porter Jr. sometimes. They can box out Russell Westbrook. That's fine. But you can only really do 3 at a time. Jokic finished with 10 rebounds in this one. Christian Braun finished with 12 rebounds in this one. A double-double for Christian Braun. A triple-double for Nikola Jokic. Only finishing with 13 points. More of a lackluster offensive performance from him. Only shooting 4 of 13. It's going to be really interesting to see if Jokic is possibly dealing with an injury right now, because it's been kind of a consistent factor since Mike Malone was fired. Whether it's a scheme thing, whether it's an injury thing, we've seen his shot percentages kind of take a dip for a little bit, and this is the most staggering dip so far. We saw him go from about 35 points to about 25 points a game, but we haven't really seen him score under 15 points in a while. So this is new. It's going to be really interesting to see if any news comes out about an injury. But I'll keep you guys posted if anything comes out about that. But for now, all we can do is sit and watch and analyze what we have here. Still with a triple-double. Christian Braun with the double-double. Aaron Gordon with 23 points. Aaron Gordon continuing to be an X factor in this series for the Denver Nuggets. Like I've said time and time again, he is one of the best. When he can go off for 25 plus points, he can go off for 5, 6, 7 plus rebounds. This Denver Nuggets, who is beating this Denver Nuggets team when you have Jokic on one side, Aaron Gordon being a two-way player, being able to score, being able to defend, being able to rebound. When you have Jamal Murray playing as well as he did last night, when you have Christian Braun going off for a double-double, when you have Russell Westbrook coming off the bench and going off for 21 points. What else do you want from a team like this? The Clippers, that was the best Denver Nuggets team. This was an equivalent of the Denver Nuggets team that won the NBA Finals 2 years ago, to put it into perspective. And the Clippers didn't even have a bad game. Zubac led the team with 27 points. Kawhi with 20 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. Was one off of a triple-double. The only person I can really point to and say you didn't really have a great game is James Harden, and he had 11 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. He only took 9 shots in the game. Something we don't really expect. We expect him to shoot a little bit better, or a little bit more volume in general. But 3 for 9, 0 of 2 from 3-point range. He just couldn't get it going early. And I believe he had some turnovers as well. He had 4 turnovers in this game. So overall, we know how James Harden can play. We know he can play better than what he did. So if you want to point the blame at somebody, I guess you can point it at him. But even then, Kawhi Leonard, 8 of 15 from the field. Norman Powell, 5 of 12 from the field. We know Norman Powell can play better than that, so I guess you can say that as well. Chris Dunn putting in 15 points. Bogdan Bogdanović with 18 points. Like they got guys that came off the bench. They did well. They came off the bench and produced. They had good production from their team overall. So, I guess what I'm getting at is the rebounding of the Denver Nuggets is what I continue to say is going to give them the series win. If they win this series, it is going to be because of rebounding. They're too big for the Clippers to handle, and as good as Kawhi Leonard is, it seems like he's the only one that's rebounding for this team. Outside of Zubac, Zubac's only with 5 rebounds in this game. How are you 7 feet tall with 5 rebounds? Come on, Zubac. So I guess they're rebounding. Rebounding needs to improve for this Clippers team if they want to win Game 6, and if they damn well want to go into Denver and win a Game 7, they have to learn how to box out. Ty Lue needs to get in their ear over these next couple days. And if I'm in practice, if I'm Ty Lue, I'm getting in everybody's ears. Honestly, specifically Ivica Zubac. Getting in his ear, and I don't know if you got to put, what do you have to, if you want to put like one of those shoulder pads that football players use, like the offensive tackles use, that they use to push around. If you want to use that to learn how to practice boxing out, he needs to play better than what he did. He needs to learn to get better at the box out, to get better at the rebounding position. Because if he cannot lead the way for this Clippers team in rebounding, they have no chance. They have no chance. Zubats has to set the example as the center for this team. He cannot be a straight scorer, and he is right now. He shot 11 of 15, so he was very active in the paint. 2 blocks as well, only 1 turnover. So he didn't have a bad game overall, but we just need him. He needs to be better from the rebounding block, and I'm not 100% sure if the Nuggets threw a different scheme at him, if they were doubling him on the post, if that's why Aaron Gordon and Jokic were getting active in the post with Christian Braun, maybe triple teaming him, but he needs to figure that. They need to figure that out. If he's getting triple teamed, get somebody else in the mix. Get a Kawhi Leonard in the mix. Get Derek Jones Jr., who's incredibly athletic, in the mix. Get somebody out there to get some extra rebounds. That's what you need. That's my rant on this one. I think the series goes 7 games regardless. I think the Clippers win game 6. I don't know about how decisively it will be. I think the Nuggets have a lot of momentum right now, winning game 4 on that dunk by Aaron Gordon, winning game 5 pretty decisively on their home floor. But yeah, we just need to see some better offensive production, some better rebounding from this Clippers team if they're going to win this game or win this series in general. If they're going to win game 6 or win this series, regardless. But I'll have more of an update on this as this series, game 6 of this series is on Friday night. So we'll have a little bit more of a perspective of how this series is going then. Game 6 of this series is Thursday night. Game 7 will be on Saturday. So we'll have more of a perspective on this tomorrow when I preview that game. But I'm going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Indiana Pacers taking out the Milwaukee Bucks last night. Tyrese Halliburton with a game winner. Unbelievable performance from him. They were down. Unbelievable comeback from the Indiana Pacers, going on a 40-22 run in the second and early third quarter. Falling behind 30-13 to start the game. Overall, it's just going to be, I'm going to cover this whole game and we're going to recap everything. And then possibly, if you have some extra time, preview Cavs versus Pacers in the first round. Don't go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mara Fatemi. We had Game 5 between the Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee Bucks last night. Pacers up 3-1 in this series, trying to close out the series on their home floor, and it was a little bit of a shocker at first. Milwaukee jumping out to an early 30-13 lead, taking momentum early, making sure they set the tone of this game. Giannis finishing with 30 points in this one, 20 rebounds, 13 assists. Probably his best performance of these playoffs so far. Gary Trent Jr. actually led the team in the scoring category with 33 points. Shooting 12 of 25 from the field, 8 of 17 from three-point range. Those are unbelievable numbers from Gary Trent Jr. And we know without Damian Lillard in the lineup, we knew somebody had to step up. We didn't know it was going to be Gary Trent. And since Game 3, he's really stepped up into that role of just probably the point guard of this team in general. In Game 3, knocking in nine 3-pointers, going 9 of 12 from three-point range. So just piggybacking off of that pretty much, back in Game 5 now. Back to Game 5. Yeah, this game, unbelievable game overall. Pacers coming back from down 30-13 going 28-7, having a 28-17 second quarter, 34-28 third quarter, just fighting, willing their team back into this game. The play of Tyrese Halliburton brought this team back. He only shot 2 of 10 from 3-point range, but 10 of 22 from the field, 4 of 4 from the 3-point line. Just overall great game from him. Also pitching in 9 assists. The whole team, I've said this before, this is easily outside of probably the Oklahoma City Thunder, or honestly in the argument with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Indiana Pacers are one of the deepest teams in the NBA, period. Not only in the Eastern Conference, probably the deepest team in the Eastern Conference right now, but across the NBA, those are the only other 2 teams that are in the conversation. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'd say. This one having 6 guys going for double figures in this one. Aaron Nesmith with a double-double. And it came down to Tyrese Halliburton in the end. 42 seconds left. Milwaukee led this game 117-111. Everybody thought Milwaukee was going to take this one in overtime. But it was honestly the shot making of Andrew Nembhard with a clutch 3-pointer, and then it was just the floater of Tyrese Halliburton. Milwaukee turning the ball over on their own half. Gary Trent Jr. just missing the ball on an inbounds play with 10 seconds to play. And then Tyrese Halliburton going the other way and just laying it up, easy layup. We've seen him do it hundreds of times. He probably practiced it hundreds of times, and putting this game on ice, clinching their way into the second round of these playoffs against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We saw Giannis Antetokounmpo and Tyrese Halliburton's father get into a little bit of a scuffle after the game, just getting into each other's faces. What that's about, we have no idea, but Tyrese Halliburton's father has issued an apology since then, so that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about that, because you know how it goes. You do something, you apologize for it, it's a done deal. It's just 2 guys in the heat of the moment, competitive guys. We know how competitive Giannis is. I don't even want to know how upset Giannis is. This is 3 years in a row that the Milwaukee Bucks have lost in the first round. They haven't been to a conference final since they won the NBA championship in 2021. Doc Rivers is most likely. I don't see Doc Rivers coming back for the Milwaukee Bucks in the immediate future. I think this is the end of the road for him, unfortunately. But if it is, I also think this is the end of the road in terms of coaching for Doc Rivers. Maybe he might come back as an advisor or as an assistant coach. But in terms of head coaching, I think his head coaching time is done. Just based on his time. Just go through the time period. He went to the Clippers. They blew it. I don't even want to get into his playoff history, because no. That speaks for itself. Multiple 3-1 losses, 3-1 choke, if you want to call it chokes. 3-1 losses after leading a series 3-1. They lose series with the Clippers. They lose with the Philadelphia 76ers. They lose in the first round with the Milwaukee Bucks. In general, outside of winning that championship in Boston in 2008, he really hasn't done much since then. So that is just state of affairs with Doc Rivers right now. What's next for him? We'll just have to wait and see. I think he's most likely going to be dismissed very soon. Whether it's, honestly, it could be today, it could be in the next week. We'll see how that all transpires. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is also most likely has played his final game in Milwaukee. I just think he wants to compete for a championship, and this Milwaukee Bucks team is not set up for the future at all. Have no picks. Damian Lillard has now torn his Achilles. They have barely any trade assets. Giannis is their trade asset. So whether the ownership wants to decides to move him for asset use, whether Giannis requests a trade out, he is under contract till 2027, and he has a player option next year if he wants to opt out of that deal, if they can't get a deal done by chance this offseason. But I think there are teams out there that would request him, that want his needs, and there are teams that can offer him packages. The Brooklyn Nets can absolutely offer him a package. The Miami Heat can. Outside of that, I'm not 100% sure. But the one team that comes to mind that I know 100% has the assets, it is the Brooklyn Nets. Just based off of their getting 4 picks last for the Mikal Bridges trade from the New York Knicks. They have the assets if they want to use them to trade for a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Most likely we'll have to give up a Cam Johnson or a Cam Thomas, but I think they're fine with that. Giannis is a one of one talent. So we'll just see how that all transpires as we move forward in this process. And we're going forward into the offseason. But this is the end of the line for the Milwaukee Bucks. They are officially eliminated from the playoffs. The Indiana Pacers now, I apologize for that. The Indiana Pacers now on a collision course with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Game 1 of that series will most likely be on Sunday. It has not been announced what time, but I'll have a preview for that series. Most likely I'll preview all the second round games and game 7s on Friday, and most likely probably the last segment of that show. We'll give a little bit of a prediction for the weekend in a couple days. But yeah, that's the state of affairs in Indiana right now, and we'll see how this all kicks off moving forward for the Indiana Pacers, because they're one of the best teams, one of the deepest teams, led by Tyrese Halliburton. And I think they can give the Cleveland Cavaliers a lot of trouble in that series. Just overall, I think their depth is just something that can knock off any team, even the Boston. I said this team was my dark horse to go all the way to the NBA Finals. Outside of Boston, outside of Cleveland, I thought the Pacers had the best chance to make it out of the Eastern Conference. So we'll see if that comes out to fruition, how it all pans out. But I'm going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Golden State Warriors Houston Rockets series, Game 5 of that series later tonight. The Golden State Warriors have a chance to to close out this series in Houston. The Houston Rockets have a chance to force a Game 6 on their home, or they're on their home floor tonight. Have an opportunity to force a Game 6 back in Golden State tonight on their home floor. So, yeah, I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to preview that series. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mara Fatemi. Getting into our final segment of the show here, we're going to take a look at the Golden State Warriors looking to close out the series against the Houston Rockets in Houston tonight. The Houston Rockets looking to force a Game 6 back in Golden State tonight on their home floor. How is this all going to pan out? Right off the top, this is a guy that we have not talked about in either the recap and a lot of previews recently, because his numbers just have not been up there, and I want to talk about that right now. And that man's name is Jalen Green. Jalen Green, outside of that 38-point game performance when they won Game 2, has not scored more than 10 points in any of the games. That is flat out. That cannot happen. If the Houston Rockets want to have an opportunity to win this series, then he must be the best player for this team. He has to be. We know he loves to trash talk. We know the Houston Rockets have pieces around him like Fred VanVleet, like Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr. You have got Alperen Sengun. You have a team around you. Incredibly well coached by Ime Udoka. I don't know why my nose is running so much. I apologize. But he needs to step up. He cannot have under 10 points a game. If he has under 10 points again tonight, this series is over. We saw Fred VanVleet in game 4 have an unbelievable game. Virtually carry this team to try to win this game. Will this team over the hump, shoot 8 of 12 from 3-point range, 8 of 13 from the field. Alperen Sengun with 31 points and 10 rebounds. Amen Thompson with 17 points. Like the guys around you are doing their jobs, Jalen Green. Jalen Green, where are you? Where are you? You need to show up. You're on your home floor. It is an elimination game 5. Are you going to show up like the Detroit Pistons did last night in New York and take control of the game early, set the tone, be a dominant force on the offensive end of the ball? Or are you going to have to make Fred VanVleet do the job, an NBA champion in his own right? Amen Thompson. Alperen Sengun. Sengun will do his thing. Sengun has been the most consistent guy for this Houston Rockets team, and it's because he has the size advantage over everybody on Golden State. That is the one thing that we've lamented about Golden State, is their problem dealing with centers because you don't have size to match up with those centers. Wing guys, you can defend. Power forwards, you can defend with Draymond Green. But Draymond Green cannot defend Sengun. Sengun will just float it over him. Has unbelievable footwork. Is just overall can beat you in a multitude of ways. So Sengun will do his thing. Fred VanVleet, we've seen in game 1, I believe he had a bad game. He was shooting pretty poorly. But down in game 4, he played very well. Dylan Brooks is playing better. Jalen Green, where are you, man? Jalen Green needs to step up in this game if Houston wants to have a slim of a chance to win this game. I think if he does, they have a great chance to win the game. I think if Jalen Green shows up, they have a great... I'm picking Houston to win this game. But if he doesn't, I can't. I don't see it. When you have Jimmy Butler on the other side, when you have a closer like Steph Curry who's won 4 NBA championships, who's won a Finals MVP, you have Jimmy Butler that's literally carried offenses by himself to Finals 2 times in Miami, and we've seen him in Game 4. How clutch he was in fourth quarter. We've seen him time and time again in this series in the fourth quarter. Brandon Pajimski with 26 points. He's continuing to grow. Excuse me. A little bit of a spit got caught in my lungs. But Brandon Pajimski, we saw him go off for 26 points in game 4. We know what he brings to the table. We know he's growing into a third option for this Golden State Warriors team. And if his confidence continues to grow, this Warriors team continues to get better, watch out for them. If Brandon Pajimski grows into a solid, legit, maybe not legit, but solid third option who can go off for 13, 15, and so sometimes 20 plus point a game scorers, this Warriors team can go all the way. I already think they can go all the way. But as they're growing as a team around them, Pajimski's growing. Buddy Hield with 15 points in game 3. Daniel Post with 13 points in game 3. Or Quentin Post, excuse me, not Daniel. This team is continuing to grow. And that is with Steph Curry having 17 points in game 4. We know he's going to play better in game 5. We know he's going to close out. Steph Curry is going to have a great game tonight. If you haven't yet, take his over 25 plus points a game. If for the adults, not the kids, stay away from this. For the adults of the chat, if you're interested in this, take 20 plus points a game. Take 25 plus points tonight for Steph Curry, because I promise you he's going to come out like a cannon, like a ball out of a cannon, like he's shot out of a cannon, and go on an absolute momentum tear to start the game. The Warriors are going to take control of this game early, I think, and it's going to depend on Jalen Green being able to keep up with that. It's going to be Fred VanVleet if he can pitch in with him. It's going to be about how Amen Thompson defends Steph Curry. And, of course, I haven't even mentioned playoff Jimmy Butler, how playoff Jimmy Butler starts the game. Because I wouldn't be shocked if he's the guy that's one of these two guys, whether you have Steph Curry that starts it off or Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler loves to kind of go in the fourth quarter, but we also haven't seen, we saw one game where he went off for 38 points, but we haven't seen that 40-point takeover game like we've seen in past years for Jimmy Butler. That's what we're waiting on, and tonight could be the night for that. So I think I have to go with Golden State in this one. As much as I like this Houston Rockets team, I don't trust Jalen Green. Jalen Green's been clamped down, whether it's Buddy Hield defending him, whether it's Pajimski, whether it's Jimmy Butler. There are a lot of great two-way players on this Warriors squad, and they are proving it time and time again in this series. They are a major reason why this Warriors team is up 3-1 right now on the Houston Rockets. If the Rockets want to have a chance, they need to pick up their offensive game, and it's been a consistent factor in this series throughout. Outside of Game 2, when they had a good offensive game, and by they, I mean Jalen Green. Jalen Green needs to step up. Jalen Green cannot have under 10. How are you labeled the leader of this team offensively when you're scoring less than 10 points a game? You have only had one game when you had 38. And outside of that, you haven't scored more than 10. You haven't scored more than 9 points, I believe. Come on. Plain and simple, Jalen Green needs to step up. Those two guys in Golden State, that two-headed monster, will be ready to go. It's just going to be about how the Houston Rockets respond to it. But I have Golden State winning this one, and they will clinch the spot in the second round of the playoffs. We'll see what ends up transpiring with Minnesota and LA. If Minnesota meets up with Golden State, that'll be a great series. We'll see if LA can push that series a little bit, if Golden State will get a little bit of rest. Jimmy Butler, that would be key, crucial rest for Jimmy Butler. If he can get some extra rest because of that lower back injury, as well as Steph Curry with his thumb injury. There are a lot of injuries. There are little knick-knack injuries that are going a little bit under the radar that a lot of people aren't talking about. We're seeing it with Jalen Brunson. We're seeing it with Jason Tatum. We're seeing it with Steph Curry. We're seeing it with Jimmy Butler. Trying to think. Jaylen Brown has an injury. They're across the NBA. They're everywhere. So we'll see how this all transpires. But that'll be it for me on the show today. We an unbelievable packed show today. Packed game of basketball last night that we had to go over, recap. Packed game of sports tonight. Not as many games, but quality over quantity in this one. Last night it was more of the smaller 3-1 series. We had the Magic Celtics. We had the Pistons Knicks, Bucks Pacers. A couple of the series that have been kind of flying under the radar outside of the Knicks and Pistons. Celtics, Magic, Bucks, Pacers, they have been flying under the radar. I didn't even talk about the Celtics. Briefly, Celtics beating the Magic and securing a spot in the second round. They'll face the winner of the Knicks and Pistons. And we'll talk more about that most likely tomorrow. But yeah, tonight we have Warriors Rockets to start off at 7:30 Eastern Time, and then we have the Los Angeles Lakers and Minnesota Timberwolves, which will be must-watch TV. If you guys have any time tonight, those two games are going to be outstanding games, I think. I think they're going to I could see the Warriors blowing out the Rockets, but the second game absolutely is going to be an outstanding game in Los Angeles, must-watch TV. I cannot wait to watch that game, if you can't tell. But I'll have more. I'll recap that game tomorrow. We'll have more. We'll have another pack show lined up for you guys tomorrow, as always. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. Whether it's positive, whether it's negative, let us know what we're doing well. Let us know what we can improve upon. I said this before earlier in the show. You guys are a big part of what we do here at the GSMC Sports Network. So please do not be shy to leave a comment or anything in general. We appreciate all the support as well as the constructive criticism as well. So please let us know what you guys think of this show in the comments below. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you guys once again for another unbelievable show, another packed lineup of shows, of games tonight, and we'll recap those tomorrow as well as preview some more series tomorrow. This is Meryl Fatemi, the host of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, signing off. Bye-bye. I hope you guys have a great rest of your days.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to